Everyone talks about luck as if it's something magical. You either have it or you don't. But what if luck isn't random and you can actually control it? Imagine yourself in a pitch black dark room. You are sitting and there's a table in front of you. You have been told by some people that there's a pen on top of the table and you have been tasked to get this pen. But you can't see anything because all the lights are off and it's pitch black. How do you then achieve this goal? It's simple. You attempt. You reach out into the darkness without any idea and you just grab randomly in the air, but on the first 2 or 3 attempts you grab nothing but thin air. It takes like 5 or 6 attempts to get the pen. Now the common notion of people here is if you get the pen within the first 2 attempts or 3 attempts, you are considered lucky. But this metric is actually completely wrong. You can't measure something like luck by binary yes or no. Either you have it or you don't. It's all about how much lucky you are or how less lucky you are. It's not like a yes or no question. It's more about a full spectrum of how more lucky or how less lucky. And how do we measure it? So let's use this example. So the longer it takes for you to get the pen, the less lucky you are. And the more quickly you get the pen, the more lucky you are. So basically, if there's a person who gets the pen in 2 attempts, he is still less lucky than a guy who gets it in 1 attempt. Although a common person would consider both of them lucky. People say luck isn't controllable, and sure, they are right. You can't really control how many attempts it takes for you to get the pen. But there's something that we can control out of all of this. And it is the interval of time which is there between each attempt. People wait for motivation, people wait for the right circumstances. But what really matters here is the attempt. People wait for the right circumstances, people wait for the right times. And what happens is they take so much time between attempts sometimes that this time exceeds their lifetime. In other words, they die without achieving their dreams. People call themselves unlucky. I mean, sure, why not? You are unlucky. You have made yourself unlucky by taking too much time between each attempt. If you shrink the time gap between each intervals, you get the pen, you will achieve this goal much earlier. And so therefore, just by controlling the time lag between each attempt and shrinking that time lag as much as possible, you can control how fast you achieve the goals, and this determines how lucky you get. You can't complain really about how many attempts it takes for you to reach the goal because you don't control it. But if you stop measuring luck based on the number of attempts like a normal person, and if you start measuring luck based on the total time required to reach the goal, I think we much more effectively can actually control our luck here. Let me explain with an example here. So there's 2 people, you and me, and let's say we both take 5 attempts to grab this pen. A normal person would actually consider both of us equally lucky because we took the equal number of attempts to reach this goal. But if you take 2 seconds between each intervals and I take 5 seconds between each interval, you achieve this goal faster. And so therefore you achieve this goal faster, and this determines that you are luckier than me. It does sound weird, but if we start measuring luck in this much more controllable metric, we can control luck. It's just that we have been conditioned into believing that, well, luck is random, luck is such a non-controllable thing. But if we start changing the metrics around and shift the definition of luck, things make much more sense. Here's a definition of luck which might help. Luck is the determinant of speed of achieving a goal. It's a speed concept and not a coincidence concept. Most people take a lot of time between each attempts. They think, they wait, they contemplate, and sometimes they even quit. Quitting is nothing but placing a time lag between each attempts which is longer than their lifespan, and so they die without even trying it one more time. In other words, you make yourself infinitely unlucky in this domain of goal. Now understand this, for luck there will always be this coincidence part, the number of attempts it takes. But this is where the Stoic philosophy of dichotomy of control comes in, and what this says is we need to focus on the things that we can control and not on the things that we cannot control. And so instead of thinking all the time about how many number of attempts it takes to achieve a goal like a normal person would, well, a normal average person is just, well, average. We want to be extraordinary. And so if we want to be extraordinary, we need to focus on the things that we can control, which is the time lag between intervals, how fast you try again and again and again. And if you focus on this speed at which you make each attempt, then I think it's much more easier to control luck in this sense. And you can't control 100% of luck, but you definitely can control the other half, the 50% of it, which is again the interval, the time lag between each attempt. And if you shrink that time gap, you achieve the goal faster and thereby you get luckier. What matters here really is you keep going and do not give up, and at the same time, just before and after each attempt, you try to shrink this time lag between each attempt every time you attempt. Now of course it is true that you cannot completely reduce the time lag between each attempt to 0. You cannot do that. But on the flip side, you can as well stop whining about how you failed and learn from the failure and attempt again. Look, analyzing about your failures is not work. It's still good, but it's not necessary. People waste too much time analyzing stuff when really it's the volume that matters much more. You know, it's the classic pottery class tale really, like the group which attempts much more amount of times, the group which instead of trying to make one perfect pot makes pots every single day wins, because it's the sheer number of attempts that they do that gets them to be better. Sure, I mean, analyze your shortcomings, your enemy, if any, their shortcomings, but really understand this: if you really want to improve, the insights for improvement will not come from over analysis of something. You will know exactly where you were short of, you know exactly where the enemy defeated you, you know exactly what went wrong. And so right after the competition, right after whatever you acted, you will actually know. And the cool part is, it's just these insights that really will give you most of the improvement. Just the things that you know went short of, just the things that you know that you did wrong. These things are the things that only count because they give you most of the insights. And so you can sit there for hours trying to analyze and overanalyze your performance, every bit of movement, every breath you take, whatever. And in reality, there's a guy who is just attempting again and again and again and again, repeated amount of times, and guess what? He will get better because he takes the feedback much faster, puts it into use much faster than you. Doesn't sit at home and watch game tape like a nerd. He just tries again and again and again, because right after each and every attempt, he exactly knows what went wrong, and the next time he tries it, he just tries to fix what he knows went wrong rather than try to analyze. Only analyze when you can't really figure out anything most of the time, although if the case is like this, you are just blinded by your ego. Look, it's weird to imagine yourself sitting in this dark room. Look, it's dumb, almost weird, like to imagine yourself sitting in this dark room, the table's front of you, you have been tasked to grab this pen. It's weird to imagine yourself sitting there and doing nothing, in your head just thinking, oh, the pen could be here, the pen could be there. Why then do you do the same thing in real life? Look, feedback is good, but this is my point. Real feedback won't take a week's worth of analysis. It's just the attempts, the number of attempts that you do to achieve the goal, and the shrinking of the time lag between each attempt that counts here. You can't control the number of attempts that you need to reach this goal, but you definitely can control the time lag between each attempt that you do. And so this is how you can control luck, through sheer volume of work, sheer volume of attempts. Just attempt repeatedly. Does a woodcutter just make a swing of his axe on the wood and just wait there analyzing the angle at which his axe fell on the wood and the degree of cut here and there, the number of breaths he's taking like a nerd? No, he just picks up the axe, strikes again and again till the wood is chopped, till he achieves his goal. He doesn't have time to think and analyze about each stroke. He's just there to attempt as many times as required to achieve his goal. He's not sitting there over analyzing his performance. And so if you want to get actually lucky, reduce this time lag between each attempt that you make, and at the same time also stop thinking about the number of attempts. Stop thinking about your performance, how when you take breaths and each angle at which you strike. Like all these stats for nerds and stuff, like who watches YouTube turning the stats for nerds on? I mean, come on. You definitely can't control how many strikes it's gonna take. You can't control how many attempts it will ever take. But you can control the time lag. You can control luck. So I hope you will watch this video and understand and actually try and get lucky in real life. And all it takes is just a little bit of dedication, a little bit of understanding that brute force does work, does make you win. And just to finish this off, you can control your luck. You can control the speed at which you attempt, and this is what matters. This is what manufactures luck.